Hey there, welcome to CodeChef. Today we are going to be discussing the project Password Generator, which is part of our course Projects for Beginners in C. So let's begin. So in this project we'll be building a simple password generator which will take input from the user as to what length should be the password and whether or not the user wants numeric characters or special characters. So coming to the flow of this particular project, we need to take the following user inputs as we saw previously: length of the password, whether or not the user wants numeric characters or special characters. So one thing we notice here is the first character of a password will always be an alphabet. It cannot be a numeric number or a special character. That's why the minimum length of the password will be 3. Now coming to the password construction, that is n is the length of the password the user wants. So n minus 2 should be only alphabets. So n minus 2 of the password should be only alphabets. And n minus 1 will depend on whether or not the user wants number. And if the user wants number, then we'll add a number at n minus 1. And if the user wants special character, then we're going to add a special character at n. And if user doesn't want to use numbers or doesn't want to use special characters, then we are simply going to replace it with alphabets. So let's look more deeply into the password construction scenario. So first we're going to create a random password of length n minus 2, as I told previously, which will be filled with alphabets only. And if use numbers is yes, that is the user wants numbers, then we're going to put a number at n minus 1 of the password. And if user wants special character, then we're going to put the special character at the nth character of the password. Now let's look at the code in the IDE, which is going to generate a random string of length 4, which will consist only of alphabets, that is without any special characters or numbers. So first we're going to initialize an array of string called fruits, which will have a bunch of fruit names. And then after that we're going to get the array size using int array size equal to size of fruits divided by size of fruits 0. That is, we're going to take the total size of the entire array, let's say it's xyz bytes, and we're going to divide it by size of each single element in that. Therefore we'll get the total size of the array, that is the number of elements in the array. Now over here we're going to seed the random number generator so that it gives different results each time. So one thing we know is that computer cannot generate true randomness, that is, it does not work on true randomness. It can only take in instructions and give out an output. That is, we're going to make the system choose a random number based on a given seed. That is, for each seed we will choose a different number. So for seed 1 we might choose 6, for seed 2 we might choose something like 120. So based on the seed, the generator will choose a random number. So let's say I choose 2 random number generators and both will have the same seed. That time, let's say I give a list of fruits as I've given over here, both will choose the same thing. For example, let's say 2 different random generators with seed 1 will always select apple. So the way we are doing this over here is srand will be the function which we use to set the random number generator seed, and time 0 we are going to be taking the current time. So the way time 0 gives out an output is it's going to give out the number of seconds since 1990, I think. So every second that number will be increased by 1. Therefore we'll have a different random number seed every single time. It won't be exact same at any point of time. Therefore we are changing the seed every second. And now we're going to actually use that seed to choose a random variable or a random fruit from the fruits array. So first we're going to generate a random index using rand modulus array size. So why are we given rand modulus array size? So what rand does is it gives out a very large random number, or it might be very small, but it's going to give out a number like, let's say 231457. It's a very large number. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide it from the array size, and based on the remainder which we get from that, we're going to be using that as a random index. For example, let's say I get a random number as 2459, and if I divide it with the array size, which is 5 over here, so 9 divided by 5 is going to give me a remainder of 4, which is within the array size which we have over here. Therefore we're going to get a random index. And after that we're going to put that random index through the fruits array, and whatever fruit is present at that particular index, we're going to assign it to random fruit variable. So after getting the random fruit, first we're going to print out all the fruits present using a for loop, and after that we're going to print a new line character to go to the next line, and then we're going to print out the randomly selected fruit using this. Percentage %s over here is used to tell that this particular variable is a string. And then we're going to skip to next 2 lines, and then we're going to create one more random index within the same range of the array, and after that we're going to get the random fruit using this particular line, and then once again we're going to print out the random index and the randomly selected fruit. So you can see after running this code that first when we printed out the list of fruits and randomly selected a fruit with a particular seed, we got the answer as kiwi. Once again, when we create another random generator with a different seed, then we got a different index and a different variable. Now we're going to look further into how random choices works in C using the rand function which we saw previously. So we get the rand function from the standard C library cstdlib that generates a random integer. To select a random element from an array, we're going to combine rand with the modulus operator so that we can make sure that it's within the range of our array. So coming to the code over here, similar to the previous subtask, we have a list of fruits or an array of fruits over here, and then we're going to get the array size using this particular line, and here we are seeding the random number generator to a different seed every second. That is, every second we'll have a different random choice, and then we're going to select a random index in the array using this particular line which I explained previously, and once again we're going to print out the randomly selected fruit. Let's just run this code once. So I can see I've randomly selected the fruit kiwi. Let me just run this once again. So I've got an apple this time, therefore it's random. Let's just submit this code once. So past the test case, let's move on to the next subtask.